Hello everybody, so today I'm back and today I'm doing something a little bit different to normal. I've only done this kind of thing once or twice before on my channel and today I'm going to be doing a book tag. The tag I'm going to be doing today was originally done on the channel Book Paradise, which I'll link down below, and I got tagged in it by Booktube couple, who will also tag down below. Thanks so much for tagging me, guys. And the tag today is the Try a Chapter tag. So the basic idea is you pick 5 or however many books that you've been intending to read or you've been thinking about and never got round to. Give the first chapter a read and then decide from there whether you're going to carry on with them or give them up or come back to them at a later date. All the books I've picked are basically books that I've had on my shelf for the past few weeks or months or in some cases years that I've not got around to reading and that I think I might quite enjoy. So I've given the first chapters a read. I'm going to let you guys know what I think about them now. The first book then is Mage by Stephen Arion. So this is an author who I met through my job at work. He came in to do an event and a signing of the book and it sounds like it should be exactly right up my street. It's a fantasy novel, a proper old school epic fantasy novel with a massive world that it creates and a really interesting lore and really interesting story behind it all. The reason I'd put it off is because I've already got quite a lot of these kind of fantasy series on the go. I didn't want to take the plunge on something new straight away, but decided to give the first chapter a read and see what I thought. And I have to say, I was really impressed. Even in just the first chapter, which is about 13-14 pages, it does a really good job of A, introducing you to the character. The main character is really interesting. And B, building a really interesting world. Even in the first chapter, there's so many kind of myths and legends and locations mentioned that it's not overwhelming, but you really feel straight away immersed in the world. It kind of, for me, drew parallels to things like the Witcher games, which is one of my favourite game series, I know a really popular one at the minute. And it's that same kind of style and that same kind of dark fantasy world that it creates, and it's really interesting. I'm definitely going to finish this off. The next book is drastically different. It's A History of the World in 10.5 chapters by Julian Barnes. So I've talked about this a few times on the channel, but never really got round to reading it. It's a selection of short stories, and they're all basically unique retellings of interesting events in the past. So, for example, the first chapter, which I read, is a reimagining of Noah's Ark, where Noah's a bit of a tyrant, and it's not all quite as hunky-dory as it seems in the Bible story. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting, unique approach to fiction. I've been enjoying short stories, and these are kind of quirky short stories unlike anything I've read before. Never read any Julian Barnes, but having read the first chapter of this, you'll have already seen it's in my TBR for March, which is a good sign and obviously shows that I'm really excited to give this a read. The next book I wasn't quite as sold on, and that's The Death House by Sarah Pinsborough. So again, this is a book that I came across through work and an author that I've worked with in the past. And it's kind of halfway between a YA and a horror title. The Death House, in the title, is basically where a selection of children go, and basically they're all monitored to see if they get ill, and if they get ill, they're basically taken off and killed. And the main character in this is a kid that's in there, and it looks from the first chapter like he's going to be one of the unique ones that tries to break away from the system. It just felt a bit samey for me. I think the fact it tried to cross the horror boundary was interesting, but it didn't grip me in the first chapter. It was one of the longer first chapters. I just didn't get hooked at all. I didn't really know much about the characters or about what was going on, and I don't feel like it was very good at getting me hooked in. It's one of those ones that if I'm ever feeling something a bit darker, I might give it a read. But generally, I'm probably just going to say meh. I might read it, but I'm unlikely to. It's a similar story with the next game, which is The Deadlands by Benjamin Percy. So this is a sort of post-apocalyptic tale, but it kind of introduces fantasy and horror elements as well, so there's like creepy monsters and those kinds of things. It almost reminds me a bit of the Fallout game series. I'm mentioning games a lot today, but it seemed like it'd be something I'd really enjoy, but I never really just got excited to read it. Decided to give the first chapter a read, and again, it does build a world quite well. It does start to sow seeds of lots of mysteries and little things that are going on. The society that the character's living in as well is really interesting. I think in terms of post-apocalyptic fiction, I always enjoy seeing what is rebuilt rather than the kind of trials of surviving in the post-apocalypse. It's about the societies that are built and how they work. That's what I enjoy, and this seems to do quite well with that. But after the first chapter, I didn't feel like I wanted to carry on. It almost felt like when I'd read that chapter, I was glad I'd read it for this video, and then I'd be done with it. So again, it's one that if I'm ever feeling a post-apocalyptic book, which there aren't actually many of, I might give it a read, but it's not one at this point which has really grabbed me hard at all. The last book is one which I originally thought I would have read within days of it coming out. It's Armada by Ernest Cline. So Ernest Cline is the guy who wrote Ready Player One, which is probably my favourite geek novel ever. They're making it into a film, and it's just full of really interesting pop culture, nerd culture, video game, film, music references from the 80s and 90s, and it's so much fun to read, and it's a really good story as well. This is his follow-up, and again, it's got a video game kind of slant on it. So the main character is a guy who's really talented at a particular video game, and there's an alien invasion that he spots that begins to happen, and the game that he was playing was basically a training program by the government to get kids involved, and he's one then of the line of defense against the aliens. So it sounds like the dream. It's like every teenage boy's wannabe book. They want to be in that situation. But I just never got excited to pick it up. Having picked it up for this and read the first chapter, I love it already. Again, it's full of loads of really good geek and nerd references, this time slightly more modern, and I think it's going to be just as much of a blast as Ready Player One, and I can't wait to read it. So there we have it, the Try a Chapter tag. All in all, reasonably successful. That ended up being 3 that I wanted to read and 2 that I wasn't really fussed about, but I don't think that's bad odds out of 5 books that I wasn't sure about to start with. I'm going to leave links down below to the people I mentioned before, and I'm also going to leave links to the people that I really enjoy watching on BookTube, who I want to do this tag as well. So keep an eye out down below. If any of you have got a channel, you could well be in there. And if anybody else wants to be requested to do it, just let me know, and I can send all the details over if you need them. Other than that, please leave a like and comment and subscribe and all that stuff if you enjoyed it. It's really appreciated. And let me know if this is a thing you think is a good thing to do with books. Do you think it's important to kind of test drive a book and read a chapter? I find that I read the blurb, and if I like the blurb, I'll buy a book and read it. I don't find that I do this, but actually it has proved quite beneficial here. So let me know what you guys think about that down below. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with my next video.